Okay, so now let's begin the next part where we will continue off. So for now, I'll select this with Shift D and duplicate it and press Y so it stays over here. And I'm going to go to the side view to make sure that it matches the reference. So somewhere around here. And let me just move this part a bit further back. Okay. So while I have this selected, I'm going to go into the front view and you'll see that this part is actually super different. I'm going to just apply the mirror modifier on this one and I'm going to go to work on it. So I believe all you need to do is you just move two vertices, one over here and one over here. I'm not trying to match the reference perfectly, but you can always do it if you want to. Okay, so somewhere around here is pretty good. For now, I'm gonna mirror it from the left to right. So again, I'll just go into edit mode, select all the vertices on the left, and I will delete them, and I'll add in a mirror modifier, like so. So now it should be mirrored pretty well. And this face in the back, I think we don't need it, so I'll just delete it. As well as, I believe, this one. We don't really need it as well. Okay. So from here to here, there are definitely a lot of things that you can do. And let me just check my model. Okay. So I'll duplicate it from here to here. And I will just make sure that I delete these vertices with a circle select. I'll press F to fill it. And it should match the one in the back over here quite well. And I will also give this a bit of width. And for the circular part, I'm going to just I'll select the edge loop and I'll just press E to extrude it out from here to here. So now we've pretty much got the shape. Sometimes you'll get some weird artifacts like this, and that's because we have an interior face. So just go into wireframe and just delete these two faces. And it should be working pretty well. Okay, so for this part, for now, I'm just going to add in a big cylinder. So maybe I can get away with just Shift-D duplicating this, and I will just press P and separate by selection. And from here to here, I'll just move it like so. Make sure that I am matching the reference as well as I can. So it's still here. Okay, so there is another circle around here. So I'm just gonna select this, press Shift-D to duplicate, right click so it stays in place, and press P to separate by selection. And I'll just select all of this and just match it like this. I'll press E to extrude. In this case, it's actually a bit bigger than the barrel itself. So I'm going to just apply the mirror modifier. Make sure you put the mirror above the bevel whenever you're applying modifiers. And for now, I'm going to just select this face loop. And it does look like over here, I might have double vertices. So I'll select everything and merge vertices by distance. I guess that wasn't the case. I'll just Alt select the face loop anyways. Go into side view and I will just make it bigger from here. Okay. So right now, I'll just smooth this, and it's definitely really bothering me how... Okay, so I guess I had this face over here. That was a problem. Okay, so it should be fine now. Okay, so we have the barrel, we have this, and we can work on this part over here. So this part can be pretty straightforward. I'll just select this this edge, Shift-D to duplicate, right click so it stays in place, P, and separate by selection so it's its own edge. And I'll just press E to extrude while I'm in object mode and extrude this part out. And I'll just extrude it from here to here. I'm gonna just move it so that it aligns with this edge pretty well. And for this part, I'm gonna just do a tiny bit of adjustment just so that I can have it kind of similar to the overall edge of this. So maybe I'll just put it till here. So it does look like, if I were to look at it from the front view, this part is a lot more out than that part. So this one goes all the way up. To take away from that, so I'm just gonna delete the faces like this, and I will just join them from here to here. So I'm just control selecting to select the shortest path. And let's see, how close am I? I can definitely make it like one more. And I'm going to just fill in the faces by just selecting these edges and pressing F to fill. And it should be pretty close now. Now I do feel that I can move this part a bit further up just so that it matches the angle a bit better. And I'll just make sure that it matches this one at least. Okay. So now I will just add in a loop cut by hitting Control R and selecting this edge, and I'll just hit Control B to bevel from here to here. Now I need to do an extrude downwards, but it'll mess up my model. So what I'll do is you just go into isolation view, and I'll try to extrude down like so. And you'll see that it'll make up a lot of bad faces. So I'll just delete those faces. And I'll Alt select to select the loop and just press F to fill them up again. So you have some pretty nice loops. Okay, so now I also need to cut a hole in there. So it's kind of hard to see, but it's from here to here, I believe. And I'll just put another loop cut here, and I'll hit Control B to bevel. And I'm gonna just bridge these two edge faces. So I'll select these two with Shift Select, and I'll right click and press Bridge Faces. And it should make like a pretty decent hole from there to there. You could move these edges a bit, just so that it would match the overall shape of the hole. So I'll just do that for now. So from here to here, and I'm pretty happy with this. So what I'll do is to just Shift Select all these four edges, and I'll press Shift D to duplicate, right click so that it stays in place, and I will press P and separate by selection so that it is its own object now. I'll select everything, press F to fill them, and I will just press E to extrude it outwards a bit, and I'll press I to inset. And this one, I'll just, well, instead of insetting it like that, I'll select these two faces and inset both of them at the same time. Maybe till here, and I'll right click and hit bridge faces. So now we have a nice little hole, and I'll just Alt select this bottom face loop, and I'll hit Alt S, which will just let it move according to its normals. So I'll move it till here for now, and this one in the back, I'll just match the reference a bit. So I'll just move this one here, and this one I'll move it till here. And we should have like a pretty good shape for now. So just make sure I don't have any problems. You do have a bit of irregular faces, but it's fine because no one looks at the bottom. And for now, I think we've made this part. So I'll just work on this part now. So this one's pretty easy. You can just select the face and you press Shift D, right click so that it stays in place, E, and separate by selection, and you have this one face. And I'm going to just make it a bit smaller. And I'm going to do an extrusion with a shortcut E. So maybe till here, and I'll press S to scale it down. And now, since it is its own object, I can definitely add in an array modifier and make sure that you apply all your transforms. And also, instead of relative offset, I'll just do a constant offset, and I'll do it in this direction, in a Y direction. And I'll make sure that the X direction is 0. So it should be going here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the count should be like 5, so that you have 6 total. And I'll turn the distance a bit lower like this. So I have this nice little shape, and I'm going to mirror it over to the other side. Or I guess it did, because we copied over from this mesh, which had a mirror as well. Okay, so I'm going to start working on the back. And to start, I might just start using a curve modifier. So what I'll do is to just press Shift A and add in a curve. And for this one, I'll just add in a path. Once the path is added, you can... Oh, and let me turn off my proportional editing. Sometimes I always turn it on by mistake. Just make sure you don't turn it on because you're going to accidentally move things. I'm just going to keep it somewhere around the side over here. And I'm going to start by adding in some geometry. So make sure to increase your bevel depth, but you also want to decrease the resolution a bit. And change your shading to flat. So in this case, the resolution is supposed to be 1, and you'll have this little 6-sided shape. And I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna just try my best to match the reference. something like so. Another thing that's pretty important is that this one needs to be exactly at the middle of the world. So I'll try to put it at 0. At 0 on a global. And another thing is that I need to make sure that the vertices is aligned with this one. So I'll just go to vertex and I'll press G and Y and snap to this vertex by holding control. And it should be snapped pretty well. And so the reason is so that we can mirror it easily. Like so. And make sure to apply all your transforms. And it should look pretty good. Now the geometry is super dense, so I can definitely get away with making it a lot less. So for now, I'll turn the resolution preview to something a lot lower. Maybe something like a 4 would be good enough. And I'm pretty happy with something like this. So when you're done with the curve, you can just go to Object, Convert to Mesh. And now just make sure that you select everything, right click and merge vertices. Because sometimes in the middle, you might have double vertices. In this case, it didn't happen, but it might happen sometimes. Okay, so I guess we can add in our bevel modifiers. So just add in bevel. And I'll make sure to apply my scale. Turn up my segments to around 4 and change the number to 0.005. Turn on harden normals and turn on auto smooth. And it should look pretty good when you shade it smooth. And I'm pretty happy with this. So I guess I can start working on the back part already. And it does look like over here, I have like a bit of a beveling problem. And that's because you need to start using bevel weights. So, or maybe you can get away with using a smaller angle. So for now, let me try turning my angle lower to around 27. And it looks like it is fixed. Okay, so for the back part, I can duplicate this one. I'll just select all these parts. And I'll just control click to just select the shortest path. And I'll select this one as well. To just select up to here. And I think up to this point is good enough. You may have to like try again if the shape doesn't match up. But for me, I already tried it already and it should be pretty good. So I'll just hit Shift D to duplicate it. Right click so that it stays in place. P to separate by selection. And now it is a new object. Now I'll just select all of it and press F to fill the face. Now another thing is that the edge over here, you need to make sure that your 3D cursor is over there. So I'll hit Shift S and press cursor to select it, and it should be in the middle of this edge. So now I'll select everything with A, and I'll go to side view. And I'm going to use the spin tool. Now for now, I'll just left click on it once, and you'll see that it's a bit messed up, and that's because we need to change the axes. So for me, it'll be -1 for the X, 0 for the Z, but also I need to turn the angle down to 90. So now we should have a pretty good shape. And what I'll do is to just press E to extrude it along this direction. And now we have a pretty good shape already. So another thing I need to do is to just rotate it a bit. So you see it's a bit slanted. And it does look like my bottom part is a bit too thin. So I'll just fix it a bit later. So I'm going to rotate it and try to make it fit best I can. So maybe to something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but for now, I'll just stay with something like this, and I'll definitely bring it a bit lower. And this part, I'll bring it a bit higher. And I'm going to just fix the thing. So I'll just select everything, and I'll press Alt-S, which will just scale it along their normals. And this should probably be pretty good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with something like this. Now, let me just shade smooth this part and turn on auto smooth. I guess it's on already. And this part may have been a bit too big, so I'll just hit Alt-S to scale it down a bit, but just a bit. And now I'm going to add these black bracings on the side. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. I think I can just get away with, with just selecting these edges from here to here. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it, right click so that it stays in place, and I'll press P and separate by selection. So now we have, if it'll let me select it, yep, this edge, and I'll just press E to extrude it in that direction. And you'll see that it isn't exactly the shape that we want. So let's just delete the bottom vertices. And now I'm going to turn on face snapping. So go here, turn on face. Let me just disable this because I accidentally turned it on. And what I'm going to do is to just press E to extrude, and I'm going to press C to move it downwards. And then I'm going to just press G and X to snap it onto this face, and I'll just create a loop cut, G and X. Holding Control will let you snap onto the surface. So I'm pretty happy with something like this. It could be a bit more smooth, so let me just look at it in local view. So yeah, I can definitely slide this one, and it will already be pretty good. So now auto merge is on, and I'm just going to even the faces a bit more, maybe to something like this. And now we can just select this, add in a Solidify modifier, which will just add a bit of thickness. And I'll put the thickness maybe around this much, and I'll make sure that it's before the bevel. And that will just add a bevel. Now, before I continue, it does look like I should apply my Solidify first. So I'm going to just do that. So apply my Solidify, and let me take a look. So we have this part in the middle. Just press X and delete face. And I'm going to just move my mirror before my bevel. And I'm going to make sure clipping's on. And what it does is that like whenever it's at the middle, it will just stick well. And it should be sticking right now. Okay, so we've pretty much made this first brace over here. And I'll just put it down. And I'm going to right click and shade smooth. And it should look pretty decent. And now I'm going to make, I believe there is a second one. And this first one actually has a bit of a shape to it. I'm going to go to the back view by hitting Control and numpad 1. And I think in this case, I'm just going to hide the reference. So Control and numpad 1. And I'm going to just do this. So something like this to match the reference a bit better. And I'm going to just slide these vertices so it kind of makes this kind of shape. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the shape. So let me just work on the brace behind that. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. We can just duplicate this. So I'll just control and select these edges, Shift D to duplicate, right click so that it stays in place, P, and separate by selection. So I'll select this, and I'll move it in the back a bit. And same thing as before, I'm going to just add in the Solidify, and make sure that it's before the bevel modifier. And then I'm going to change the thickness to match it a bit better. And this time we've made sure that our Solidify is before the mirror, so it didn't really have that problem anymore. And I'm pretty happy with something like this. So now we've pretty much made the back, and I guess I will continue by working on this small part over here. And then let's say that we're done for this video. Okay, so first I would just start by adding in this part, which you can do pretty easily by just duplicating, well, I'll just add in a cube for now. And I'm going to move it and just get the rough scale of it. And I'm going to move it somewhere around here. Go to the right view and try to match it with the reference as best I can. So this one's here. I'm going to move it back and match the reference here. So this is the first part. Make sure to apply your scale. And let me just unhide the front view because I need to get the width of it right. I'm going to scale it on the X a bit, like so. And it should be pretty good. I'll just move this part a bit lower so that it's touching the bottom. Same as this one. I'll just make sure that it's touching. So something like this. I'll add in a bevel modifier, or rather, I'm going to just copy it from this one. So I'll just shift select that one and press Ctrl L, copy modifier, and it should copy it. And make sure that you also turn on your auto smooth as well. Okay, so now we have this black part, which you can create by just duplicating this, I believe, making it a bit thinner, and I'll press E to extrude it upwards. And now this shape, you can see it in a side view a bit better probably. It kind of just ends over here. So let me just select everything and press P and separate by loose parts. That's so that they're both different objects. And I will just move this one over here. And I'll just add in a loop cut by hitting Ctrl R and adding a loop cut from here to here. Like so. And I'm going to just move it over here. I kind of want to make sure that it's aligned well. So I'm going to just make sure that we're back in vertex snapping. And hold, when you press G and Y, hold Control so that it snaps onto these vertices. I just want these ones to be as straight as possible. Okay, so now we pretty much made this shape. I'm just gonna go into the top view, go into wireframe, and I'm gonna try to get this right. So I'll press I to inset, and I'll hold Control so that it insets out in that direction instead. And now I'm gonna add a loop cut here, well, here and here. I just added it and right-clicked so that it would go down. And now I'm gonna Alt select these face loops, and I'm gonna move it down. And before I do, I need to add in another loop cut actually. So I'm just gonna add another loop cut here and here. And I'm gonna Alt select the both of these and move it down. For now it's a bit rough, but we can get it right soon. Okay, so I'll move it down till here. And I will select these two and I'll move it down as well. Okay, and now I'm gonna select these edges. So I'm shift selecting them, hitting Control B to bevel. I'm gonna bevel it till here, and I'm gonna scroll my mouse wheel up. And we're gonna have this nice little shape. So now I'll just right click and merge vertices by distance. And now let me just fix this part. So I'll just select these vertices with a circle select, and I'll just scale it in a bit. And these ones as well, I'll select it with a circle select and scale it in a bit. So now we have this nice little shape, and there's definitely a torus in the top where you use to latch your strap onto. So I'm just gonna make that. So Shift A, add in a mesh, and this one can be the torus. And this is way too many sides, so you can make it, I guess 24 sides is good enough. And for this one, I'll just have it be 8 sides. So this is pretty good. I'll just rotate it on X by 90, and I'm gonna put it over here. So now I'm gonna just delete these bottom vertices real quick by box selecting and deleting them. I'm gonna select these two and extrude it down. Now I'll scale this down a bit and move this, and you'll see that compared to the reference, it's a bit thin. So you can always hit Alt S to just scale it up like that. And now just move these two a bit lower. So something like that is already good enough for me. I'll just right click and shade smooth. And now we have these little grooves, as well as over here, we have some bolts that we missed. So I guess what I can do is to just start over here. So I'm going to edit mode on this, cursor to select it, and I'll put one here. I'll add in a cylinder and make sure that this one is 8 sides. Scale it down, and I'll rotate it on the X by 90. And for now, I'm just going to go into edit mode, select these two faces, press I to inset, and while those faces are still selected, I'll just bridge faces. And I'll just scale it down a bit and move it somewhere around here. So something like this. And all you need to do is you just, I guess I can take the same origin as this. So I will add a mirror modifier, and I'll just take the mirror object as this one, and I'll just mirror it on the X and the Z as well. And it should copy like the same area. And now I'll add in the bevel modifier. Again, 0.005. Make sure you apply your scale as well. And turn the segments up. And I guess in this case, we should make it a bit smaller because it's a really small object. So maybe something like this. And now, shade smooth. Go into shading, harder normals, and turn on auto smooth. And we got this nice little shape. And let's work on this one. So I'll Shift S, put my cursor here, and I'll add in another cylinder. In this case, I think I'll put it to 12 and just scale it down. I'll rotate it on the Y a bit, just so that it's angled like that part. And I'm gonna just double tap G and just move it a bit. Just make sure that it matches the surface a bit better. Okay. So something like this. I will now add in a bevel modifier. So add modifier, or maybe I can copy it from some other part. So maybe I can copy it from this one, because this one just mirroring left to right. Okay. And now it's being mirrored, but I need to apply all transforms, and now it should be good. Right click and shade smooth. And I think you got this part as well. Okay, so I guess in the next one, we're gonna work on the handles and the vent and some other parts as well. So I'll see you in the next one.